Hey guys, welcome to YouTube Sunday School for Centenary United Methodist Church. It was good to see so many of you at our tabletop trick-or-treat that we had on Wednesday. Hope you all continue to do well. Today we're looking at another part of the Old Testament, the beginning of Israel's history in the Promised Land. As you remember, last week we talked about the Ten Commandments. Moses had gotten all the Israelites as far as to the edge of the Promised Land. Moses died, and Joshua took the people across the river into the Promised Land. There was a lot of battles, a lot of fighting that went on there because the people that lived there didn't want the Israelites there. The Israelites looked at it as the land that was promised to them by God, and the people that were living there looked at them kind of as invaders. So there was a lot of battles. The Israelites eventually spread out and settled into different parts of the land. They settled by their tribes, by their different groups, and God knew that one person couldn't manage them, govern them, because they were all spread out in so many different areas. So God brought about a system of judges. And the judges were people not like the judges we have today that sit in a courtroom, but these were the judges that defended the Israelites. They led armies. But they also were people that would help with the rules of how to live, their government rules. But these were judges. They weren't kings, they were judges. And one of the judges that was raised up by God was one that we probably think of more than any of them, is Samson. Samson belonged to a tribe or a kind of people that God had that promised to keep themselves pure for God. They didn't cut their hair. They didn't participate in a lot of things that normal, everyday people would do. And Samson, by not cutting his hair, had great strength that God gave him. And he used that strength to protect his people, the area of which he was a judge, from a group of people called the Philistines. So today we're going to look at the story of Samson. So remember, Samson wasn't just a strong man. Samson was a judge that God had raised up to protect the people and to govern the people. So here we go today with Samson.
Hello, I'm Megan. And I'm Jessie. Hey, Megan, do you have tickets?
Tickets to what, Jessie?
Tickets to the gun show.
That's quite an impressive muscle you have there, Jessie. In fact, your muscles remind me of Samson.
Who is Samson?
Samson was one of the judges of Israel.
Was he as strong as me?
Believe it or not, he was even stronger. God made Samson super strong so he could defeat the Philistines. Let me tell you the story. The Israelites disobeyed God, so God let their enemies, the Philistines, rule over them. One day, the angel of the Lord appeared to two of God's people, Manoah and his wife. He told them that they would have a son who would save the Israelites from the Philistines. God had special instructions for their son. He should never cut his hair. Manoah's wife had a baby, and she named him Samson. God blessed Samson and made him strong. When Samson grew up, he met a Philistine woman he wanted to marry. He went with his parents to meet the woman. On their journey, a young lion jumped out at Samson. Samson killed the lion. he did not tell his parents what he had done. When Samson and his parents returned for the wedding, Samson found the lion. Some bees had made honey in the lion's body. Samson scooped up some honey and gave it to his parents. Some Philistine men came to help Samson prepare the wedding feast. Samson told the men a riddle. Out of the eater came something to eat, and out of the strong came something sweet. The riddle was about the lion and the honey, but the men could not figure it out. They asked Samson's new wife for help. Samson told his wife the answer to the riddle. And she told the men. Samson had been tricked. He was angry and he left his wife. When he went back to get her, she was gone. Samson was so upset that he burned the Philistines' fields. This made the Philistines angry. They wanted to kill Samson. Samson escaped to another city where he fell in love with a woman named Delilah. The Philistines offered Delilah money if she would find out why Samson was so strong. Samson gave Delilah reasons for his strength, but none of them were true. Delilah tested his explanations, but Samson was still strong. Finally, Samson told Delilah the truth. "If you cut my hair, I will not have my strength," he said. So when Samson was sleeping, the Philistines cut his hair. Delilah shouted, "Samson, wake up! The Philistines are here to kill you." But Samson wasn't strong anymore. The Philistines grabbed him and made him blind. They took him away in chains. Samson's hair began to grow back. One day, the Philistines made Samson stand between two pillars in their temple. Samson cried out to God, "Lord, please remember me. Strengthen me once more." So God strengthened Samson. Samson pushed on the pillars and collapsed the temple. Samson and everyone in the temple died. Samson's sin led to his own death, but God used his death to deliver the Israelites from their enemies. Samson's story reminds us of Jesus. Jesus never sinned, but God sent him to die on the cross and rise again to rescue believers from sin and give them eternal life.
So, Samson's story was I think, a sad one. He had everything. He had strength. He had God's favor. He was just couldn't pull everything together the way that he should, and he sinned. And God took that sin, and there were consequences to it. I mean, he lost his vision, he lost his strength, and he was chained. He was a prisoner of the Philistines. And Samson, I think from the way that the story was, he was remorseful. He was sorry. He repented for what he had done. And he asked God to give him strength one more time. And when he did, when God gave him that strength one more time, he brought the pillars down and killed the Philistines and freed the Israelites from the Philistines. God had warned the people, his people, when they moved into this new promised land. He had warned them, don't intermarry, don't get married to any of the Philistines, any of these people that don't worship the one true God. Don't do it. And so many of the people didn't listen, didn't obey God. And they had consequences from it. And the consequences a lot of times were death or some really, really, really difficult places that the people ended up. But God took that sin and he took the place where Samson was, the terrible place where Samson was, and he used it for his good. He freed his people. And that's something that has always been a difficult thing to think about God doing, taking the worst situations, the bad situations, and making them good. But he does. He does. He promises that he works all things. It's in the book of Romans. He works all things for the good. So that's our story of Samson. That's our story with the judges. Next week we'll look into one of the kings. Actually, the second king that God allowed the people to have, King David. I look forward to seeing you again sometime soon. We are going to do this year, rather than a Happy Birthday Jesus party, we're going to do Advent boxes. And what they will be is they'll be boxes that will have all sorts of activities in them for you as a family to do during the Advent season, so that we can celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. Each box will be age appropriate for your families, and they'll be out under Wesley Hall beginning in 2 weeks. I'll send out an email to remind your moms and dads to come by and pick them up. But they'll have lots of different activities and some links of some videos that you can watch. And we will begin too with our videos here talking about the Advent season. So I hope it'll be a good way for us to celebrate and to while we're still somewhat apart. Look forward again to seeing you again next week. Y'all have a great week. Blessings.